Project 95. Back again. Got a day off tomorrow. This by the way is much more difficult and stressful than the actual fall 95 tour. This meaning recording every day, trying to listen to the show, record, edit. Project 95 is far more challenging than fall tour 95. I'll just say that. I'm listening to this fast Reba right now. Again, like talking about my show notes. You can see in this one bunch of stuff in the margins. I'm getting comfortable. I also apparently there was an antelope tease. I'm gonna have to check that. It doesn't seem legit. Anyway, Project 95, Shoreline Amphitheater, Mountain View, California, September 30th, 1995. This is actually Trey's birthday. So, yippity-doo. So that means Trey's 61 today, maybe? A lot of comments on my Jam Boys text thread about just the energy and the pace that the band has. Like this Reba right now, they are just going through a dizzying version of the composed part of Reba. This sounds faster than the 12/7 one. So, and just scalpel like precision. It's like this marriage of energy and precision, and just, it's unmatched. You'll never get it back. Like, this is, as I mentioned at some point, this is their first prime. If they've had multiple primes, this is their first prime for sure. This is the culmination of all of just that, the relentless touring, practicing, playing live, just everything is, they're reaching a peak. And Shoreline, for this tour, Shoreline was a level up, right? There's shows throughout this tour that they're kind of cruising along, and then they'll level up to level 2. This is a level 2 show. And there's one coming up that's going to level up. But the first 3 shows, very good, just solid, kind of getting comfortable, feeling things out. This night at Shoreline, maybe because they're at Shoreline, it was a big dead venue, or maybe they're just, maybe they're as psyched as I am that they get to play another show. But this Shoreline show has something for everybody. The debut of the oft overlooked audience versus band chess game. Now, if I knew anything about chess, I'd have something interesting to say about it. In fact, my notes are funny. Like, I'm writing things down like I know anything about chess. But that was a pretty big deal. I think they played 2 games of chess with the audience only in the fall tour. Only kind of, they finished one game. I don't remember. I'm sure it's marked down. And then they started another game. So that was kind of a little gimmick that I think a lot of people forget about. And it was basically the band would make a move, and then the audience members who knew anything about chess, so not me, would meet at the green piece table, and they would discuss their move. And then they would make it at wait, how did that work? They'd make it at to start the second set, and then the first move of the next night would be the Phish's move, the band's move. I remember people just butthurt because, well, the band gets to think about it all night and we only get like 20 minutes. Like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? But this night they played this song called Jazz Jam, which was starting to rip, right? They had the whole intro of the chess game. So explaining it, how it's going to work. A representative from the audience made their first move. His name was Pooh. He's a Wook. Early Wook. They're talking about the Sicilian defense, like stuff like that. They're playing White Rabbits, and I'm like, the Jefferson Starship song, Jefferson Airplane Starship, White Rabbits. They're playing that in the background, and they kind of fiddled with it for a little bit. I don't know if that is a chess song. I guess it's Alice in Wonderland, maybe. Then Reba is my all-time favorite song. I'm in the middle of it right now, and I have half a mind to stop the tape and dance. No. Reba, and then they do Blue and Lonesome, and they dedicated to Jerry, who had just recently passed. And there was a lot of talk, like, what are they going to do? Are they going to do anything? And they dedicated this. They played an acoustic version, full acoustic version of Blue and Lonesome. And it was cool. The tenuous relationship between the Dead and Phish and their fans made a lot of those things more sort of remarkable than they should have been. I've commented many times that what Trey did for Goose in terms of just opening his arms and welcoming them in, and not passing the baton, because Phish still has the baton, but I think that's something Trey wished Jerry would have done. Not that they were ever in a position to do that, but there was so much just unearned animosity between the two bands and the two fan bases that it was so dumb. It was just stupid. And think about what that would have looked like, if Jerry and the Dead were like, hey, why don't you guys open for us, or whatever, tour with us, not open for us, tour with us, whatever. Just been like, acknowledged each other as, musicians. And so playing that for Jerry, everybody was like, ooh, they thought they'd play a Dead song and they didn't, and that meant something, and it's like, just shut up, dude. It's too much. Trey, we will crush you. or maybe Phish said it at the beginning of the second set after the audience move. It's like, we will crush you. So the second set, Fog That Surrounds. There it is. Still playing a little If I Could. This was the first Mike's Groove of the tour. I loved Weekapog. I still do. I'm a Weekapog stan through and through. And this bass intro, that's usually how I rate Weekapog grooves, is how hard does that intro, the bass drum intro slap. This one, it's kind of slow, and Mike hits a big old slap twang, and it's just fantastic. But you could see, if you look at my notes, no trampolines on Mike's. They used to do trampolines on Mike's song, if you guys remember that. It wasn't nearly as elaborate as YM, obviously. I noticed no trampolines on Mike's. And then they threw a keyboard army in the between Mike's and Weekapog, which was, kind of a new thing. And then they broke out Suspicious Minds. So they were clearly looking for the Fishman tune for the tour. It would end up being Suspicious Minds for the most part. I think they played that the most. They never played Crying Again, as I mentioned. But he came out full cape, Elvis, the whole nine, like precursor to the 96 shows at the Aladdin in Vegas. He did so Suspicious Minds kind of became, I miss the Fishman element, right? Obviously he's nasty on drums, but Phish coming out and doing Bike or doing Love You or doing Cracklin' Rosie, like playing the vacuum, trombone, whatever, that always was something that drew me to the band, because like, it's silly. They don't take themselves too seriously. People who take themselves too seriously make the world more difficult for everybody else. So the Suspicious Minds would become another one. Like, people were groaning about it by the end of the tour. It's like, dude, like, pick your battles. You're gonna bitch about a hilarious Fishman Elvis impersonation? Just stop yourself. But yeah, I remember that Weekapog. This is a tape that I can't find now. I'm listening to set one, and I have no idea where. I think I listened to it too much. It might have got lost, left in a car or something. But I would listen to that Mike's Groove a lot, and that Reba a lot. And again, this was a level up show. So if they started at a 5 or 6, now they're up as sort of a base, right? Now they're playing 7. Now they're at a 7. And by the time they get to Halloween, they're at a 10. And by New Year's they go to 11, as it were. So yeah, the Shoreline was gorgeous. Another beautiful venue. I thought I had a photo of it. The tents, it's got the peaks, those tent looking things. But honestly, the highlight of this one was I went to see Showgirls. The Elizabeth Berkley, Gina Gershon, Paul Verhoeven directed scandalous movie, Showgirls. It's bad. It's a bad movie. But it was NC-17 because it's sexy. That's what I did during the day. During the day, like, you know what? I'll go see like some softcore porn in the theater if I got the time. So yeah, back that up with a awesome Phish show and Showgirls. I mean, what else could you possibly do in a day to make it better than that? Nothing. So there was some. It did feel good after that drive. The driving, not only the drive across the country, which was like, a long one, but this drive through California at a day off the next day. And that was it was good. Now by this time Spencer had invited me to, he lived in Seattle. So the next two shows were in Seattle. And then the 5th was in Portland and the 6th was in Vancouver. So we kind of had a home base. We had a base camp set up at Spencer's house in Seattle because Portland's less than 2 hours south. Vancouver's less than 2 hours north. So I was at his house for like a week, basically. And we used his house and hung out and did a bunch of shit. Went to these shows, hung out in Seattle, did some of that stuff. So I had that to look forward to, which was nice to have a place to go, and not just be sort of in the back of my my car. So that's coming. I'll talk obviously more about that, but this show they leveled up, and it was starting to feel like, all right, this is real, and very exciting. So I won't see you tomorrow. I will see you in Seattle on Thursday. 2 nights, one of the few runs that they went on, so yeah, I'll see you guys in Seattle on Thursday.